My friends, welcome back to this week's range report. As you can see, we got a bunch of empty ammo boxes here with some 308 ammo, and I've been shooting this throughout the last month or so, and I actually just reloaded these the other night, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But first up, we just shot some 150 grain full metal jackets at 100 yards. This was our 41 grains of AR plus with some mixed Lake City 2011 head stamps with mixed primers out of some pulled brass. So those were all, re-prepped and sized and everything and trimmed down to length, and the primer crimps removed and everything. Anyways, a random charge out of the book, 41 grains, shooting about 2,700 feet per second. Not super hot or anything, but here's the first 10 shots of the day. We got 5 all touching there, and probably an inch or so, and then a couple of guys outside here just as I was trying to get settled in and whatnot. And I'll note, I was on a bipod today with a rear bag instead of a front rest and a rear bag, so trying to get used to that. It wasn't quite level, and my bipod doesn't let me pivot or anything, so I might have to play around with that. Waited a few minutes for the barrel to cool, and I looked next door and there was a target hanging up that someone had left before me, and I decided to use it. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between their 22 caliber holes and my 30 caliber holes. So that's what she said. Anyways, I'm now aiming here. Here's my last 5 shots with the full metal jackets, 150 grains. Again, about an inch or so with these 4, and then 1 outside there. Not too bad. Just a random charge with some random ammo to get warmed up and work on my own technique and all that. After that, I tried some of these. You can see that they've been pulled. They've got these marks where the collet had pulled them out of the brass and all that fun stuff. So these are 168 grain boat tail hollow point matchy stuff. I don't know whether they're Noslers or Sierras or whatnot, but they're pretty ugly. And this is actually one of the better looking ones. Some of them were pretty gross and, not crushed, but somewhat deformed. They varied in overall length, maybe by 20 thousandths or so. Not a whole lot, but it was enough to notice on the calipers when I was trying to dial in a seating depth, but they were all just a little bit different than they should be. Anyways, today I was testing the tuner brake on my Browning A-bolt here today. So I just had this crappy ammo. I loaded up with a random middle charge of Shooter's World match rifle. I got a big jug of it a while back, but I've never really used it. I have some other stuff loaded I need to test, but as far as actually shooting it, I've never used it yet. But anyways, this was our first try. So this is our first group here with the tuner set to 0. It's got pretty clear indicators where you can go in, from 0 to 10, or 0 to 9 rather, and then it circles back around. But here's our tuner set to 0. You can see we've got 4 of them pretty close here with one guy poking out high. Cover those up with my thumb again, and he's just hanging out there. We get to our second group and I turn the tuner to 1, and here again we've got 4. Nice little grouping up here, but this is the grossest of them all. This one, it was just totally just the most deformed one out of the whole bunch, and I remember that specifically because it was obviously a good 3 inches off from the rest of them. So that was something to note there with the horribly deformed pulled bullets. It does have an effect on accuracy. Weird, who'd have thought? So, maybe this wasn't the time to be testing the tuner. Anyways, if we ignore the big flyer, the tuner, as far as shifting that around, my first group I'm aiming here, and they're, this far from my point of aim as far as this little cluster here. And then here I'm aiming right here on this dot. So it shifted the whole group up maybe an inch or so towards my point of aim. Maybe, I could be full of it, but that's what it looks like so far. So for the third group, using the tuner, I switched that to 2, and up here at 12 o'clock, we have 4 of them all right here. My point of aim is this little intersection between the circle and this top line here. So It looks like we came to the right just a little bit. And again, we've got 4 of them all here with 1 just outside the group. Seems like a common thing, but again, the bullets were very ununiform, if that's even a thing. You know, they were pretty much crappy free pulled bullets. So, you know, be careful there. Don't really trust any of this data because you. And then here we go, our next group, shooting here at 3 o'clock. Tuner set to 3. The first 5 were all right here touching, and I should have just stopped there, but I went ahead and I shot 10. And so it was all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then shot 8, jumped out high here. First 7 shots all touching, shot number 8, 9, 10, 11, and then shot 12 went out here. So I was just trying to see how many I could stack in before we had another flyer. So there's 10 shots, 2 flyers there with the crappy pulled bullets and a random powder charge. Not too bad, I don't think. And then since I shot 12 here, I kind of did that on purpose because my last 3 were actually a 165 grain bullet instead of a 168. Not sure who made it, but it was clearly different, had a different shaped ogive, different nose, all that stuff. So now for my last group, I'm shooting here at 6 o'clock. And I thought when I was on the bench, oh wow, all 3 of them are in the same hole. But one of them was actually right down here when I went up to pull the target. So, you know, I would say they were within an inch, but I thought they were all here, but boo-hoo, one was out there. So it was interesting to see if the tuner was doing anything, but it's probably hard to tell if it was the tuner or the bullets or whatnot, because, you know, pretty much crappy input gives you bad data. You can't really trust any of it. So I was just kind of playing around, seeing what it could do for us. So moving on to the last target here, I had 12 shots here with our Sierra Match Kings, 175 grains. This was 41.5 grains of 4064. And the 12 shots here, this was all from a fluted barrel, some sort of like set me or foul or something like that. But anyways, it was the same Federal head stamp that I was using the other day. I just had set these aside because, you know, you can't really trust them. I marked on here with markers where they had some kind of dings or anything like that, just to see if anything had happened. But anyways, 12 of these at 100 yards, aiming right here. They're all in here probably within an inch or 2. Not too bad, but obviously brass like this is going to have significantly varying neck tensions and so on and so forth. So pretty inconsistent as far as we can see on the paper, and I don't really trust this. So it'll probably just either get scrapped or used for the range fodder, 155 grains or cast loads or whatever. Anyways, I was just seeing if it would do anything. And for that, I did turn the tuner back to 0. So we were back to almost a cold bore, not completely, but tuner back to 0 for here. And we had one more group to shoot. Let me put these away here. So lastly, I had 10 of these left from Johnny 1982 with the 150 grain RCBS cast bullets with gas checks. This was just mixed Lake City brass, mixed primers, and we were shooting at 50 yards, and there's 10 shots right in there at 50 yards. I'm aiming here, and we're hitting down here. I think the velocity was somewhere around the 1490 range, somewhere in there when I had checked it the other day. But not too bad at 50 yards. I can cover those all right there. So there's 10 shots from the cast bullets. Very nice showing there. Beautiful. So I'm going to keep this brass going. I'm going to keep them just for cast loads, and they're very low pressure. You can see our primers are still pretty rounded out, no flattening at all really. So I don't expect them to harden at an exceptionally fast rate compared to a full pressure load and all that. So I'm going to try and size them as softly as we can and not stretch them and bump them too much, but we'll just keep using cast loads there and see how many firings we can get out of that. That's going to be at least the second firing that I know of, but again, it's just random brass that I had pulled and all that stuff. So, but who knows, we'll keep them running and see what happens. Same over here with the 150 grains. I'll keep running higher pressure stuff out of those and see how quickly they go or how long they last compared to our cast loads over there. Finally, if you've been following along for the past few weeks, you know I've been having issues in the 450 Bushmaster. So we were playing around with the gas block. I had a buddy kind of show me how to take the upper apart and work on that. So we got that realigned. It was actually slightly off, and the dimples that they put for the set screws, those were misaligned. So when they put the first one in, that was all gravy. And then when they torqued down onto the second one that was offset, it had misaligned the gas block or some nonsense to that nature. But it seemed to function just perfectly today. I was super excited. I wasn't really shooting for accuracy. I was just trying to see if it would function. But the first 3 shots here were H110, bing, bang, boom. Oh, shit. Fucking A, boys. And then the last 3 here were Shooter's World SOCOM, bang, bang, boom. H110 test shots, 450 Bushmaster, 200 grain FTX at 50 yards, function test. So yeah, super excited. I can finally get to testing this Bushmaster here. We had pretty good ejection with the Shooter's World as far as the pattern. That was right at 4 o'clock. The H110 that was shooting out at 2 o'clock as far as the ejection pattern. So maybe someday we'll look into an adjustable gas block, but for now I'm just glad that we are able to cycle the gun, and now I can start really focusing in and dialing in some different loads and checking out all the powders I thought I already tested. And I've got a couple other cast bullets to use, and we've got all kinds of goodies here for the Bushmaster to come. I'm excited about this here, so stay tuned more for that. A quick look at the brass. This was from H110. This is freaking dirty. Maybe I need a heavier crimp, but this stuff is freaking dirty. I know some powders are just dirtier than others, but maybe there was a crimping thing or something. This was on the upper end before I saw any pressure the other day when I was trying to do a quick little ladder for function, but no flattening really on the primers. The only marks we see on the case heads are just your standard ejector and extractor claw marks, just pulling on your brass from it being a semi-auto. But that's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm going to leave those out of there because they're a pain in the ass to get out of this case. And here's our 3 pieces from the Shooter's World with, what was it, 45 grains, I think. But it's way cleaner burning. Look at that. Wow. It's also supposed to give us about 2,500 feet per second if I were to work up to that, depending on the barrel length. I don't know what they used, but it could be good stuff here, tell you what. Anyways, looking forward to more 45 Bushmaster tests here with this 200 grain, the 250, the 350 we tried the other day. I'm looking into some other molds to get maybe a 400 or a 450 grain bullet. It's gonna be fun stuff, folks, I tell you what. And we didn't score any brass today. Maybe like 2 or 3 pieces of 223 and a few pieces of 9mm. But I did get a couple of empty ammo boxes. I like them because they have the plastic trays for sorting or counting. And you know, you can just load up 50 rounds and put it in this for storage as well. So I found these just sitting on top of the trash bin basically. So score for that, whoopee. I know I'm not the only one that likes to grab those, come on now. But I do have good news. I was able to mine some lead from the berm. Yeah, how about that? Oh, my precious. Oh, range scrap. Pretty cool stuff. I got about 15 pounds of range scrap, so this is great news because the other range I used to visit's been closed for, 6 months or more now at this point, probably 8 months. So that used to be my source of lead. Now I don't have to buy any more lead for a while if I don't want to. I can just go and mine as much as I want. So yeah, anyways, a pretty, I guess it was a productive day, right? We played around with the tuner. That was pretty fun. I learned how to shoot with the bipod. That was fun. We learned that our Bushmaster functioned. That's not even the target, but that was probably my favorite part. Good thing I saved that for the end, right? Anyways, if you guys enjoy this sort of content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll probably be back again next week with another range report, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be working on some Bushmaster, some other 308 loads, some different cast loads, all kinds of good stuff. So stay tuned and we will see you in the next video, guys. Have a good one.